Those who dared to challenge Hitler. Klaus von Stauffenberg, the aristocrat who plotted Hitler's death. Klaus Schenk Graf von Stauffenberg, a German nobleman and Wehrmacht officer, is perhaps best known for orchestrating the July 20th, 1944 assassination attempt on Hitler, the most famous of the resistance efforts within the German military. Born in 1907 into an aristocratic family with a deep sense of duty and honor, Stauffenberg initially supported aspects of German nationalism but grew disillusioned with Hitler's brutal policies, particularly after witnessing the atrocities on the Eastern Front and the persecution of Jews. Stauffenberg's transformation from a loyal soldier to a conspirator was gradual but resolute. By 1943, as the war turned against Germany and the Nazi regime's crimes became undeniable, he joined the German resistance, a loose network of military officers, politicians, and civilians determined to overthrow Hitler. Appointed Chief of Staff to the Reserve Army, Stauffenberg gained access to Hitler's inner circle, positioning him to execute Operation Valkyrie, a plan to assassinate Hitler and seize control of the government. On July 20th, 1944, Stauffenberg attended a military briefing at the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's headquarters in East Prussia. He carried a briefcase containing a bomb, which he placed under the conference table near Hitler. After arming the device, he excused himself from the room. The explosion killed several attendees, but Hitler survived, shielded by the table's sturdy leg. The coup unraveled swiftly thereafter. Stauffenberg was arrested in Berlin and executed by firing squad that same night, shouting, "Long live our sacred Germany," as his final words. Stauffenberg's attempt failed, but his courage galvanized the resistance and demonstrated that even within the Nazi military, there were those willing to act against Hitler. His legacy endures as a symbol of moral clarity and decisive action, though it also raises questions about the timing of his rebellion, coming late in the war when Germany's defeat was already looming. 2. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the theologian who chose resistance over silence. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a Lutheran pastor and theologian, opposed Hitler not with bombs, but with words, faith, and a steadfast commitment to justice. Born in 1906 into an intellectual family, Bonhoeffer was a brilliant scholar whose theological writings, such as The Cost of Discipleship, emphasized the radical demands of Christian ethics. When the Nazis rose to power, he quickly recognized their ideology as antithetical to his faith, particularly their persecution of Jews and suppression of the church. From the outset, Bonhoeffer resisted. In 1930, he delivered a radio address condemning the Führer cult, which was cut off mid-broadcast. He opposed the Nazification of the Protestant Church, joining the Confessing Church, a movement that rejected Hitler's control over religious life. As the regime tightened its grip, Bonhoeffer's resistance deepened. He helped establish an underground seminary to train pastors and became involved in smuggling Jews out of Germany, using his international connections from his time studying in the United States and Britain. By 1940, Bonhoeffer's activities drew the attention of the Gestapo, and he joined the Abwehr, German military intelligence, a hub of anti-Nazi conspiracy. Through his brother-in-law, Hans von Dohnanyi, he linked with the resistance, providing moral and intellectual support to those plotting Hitler's demise. Bonhoeffer wrestled with the ethical dilemma of violence, famously arguing that to remain passive in the face of such evil was itself a sin. "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil," he wrote, a conviction that guided his actions. Arrested in 1943 for his role in aiding Jewish refugees, Bonhoeffer was imprisoned and later linked to the July 20th plot. On April 9, 1945, just weeks before Germany's surrender, he was hanged at Flossenbürg concentration camp. His writings, smuggled out of prison, including letters and papers from prison, reveal a man of profound faith and resilience. Bonhoeffer's resistance was quieter than Stauffenberg's, but no less impactful, inspiring generations to confront injustice with moral courage. 3. Sophie Scholl, the student who defied with words. Sophie Scholl, a 21-year-old university student, embodied the youthful idealism and fearless defiance of the White Rose, a nonviolent resistance group in Munich. Born in 1921, Scholl grew up in a liberal Christian household that valued critical thinking. Initially compelled to join Nazi youth organizations, She became disillusioned as she witnessed the regime's brutality, particularly after her brother Hans, a medical student, shared accounts of Nazi atrocities on the Eastern Front. In 1942, Sophie, Hans, and a small circle of friends formed the White Rose, distributing leaflets that denounced Hitler's regime and called for passive resistance. Their writings, eloquent, impassioned, and grounded in humanistic values, urged Germans to awaken from apathy. "We will not be silent," one leaflet declared. "We are your bad conscience. The White Rose will not leave you in peace." Sophie played a key role, smuggling leaflets and distributing them across campuses, risking her life with every step. On February 18, 1943, Sophie and Hans scattered leaflets at the University of Munich. A janitor spotted them, and they were arrested by the Gestapo. During her interrogation, Sophie remained defiant, refusing to betray her comrades. Tried in a sham court, she faced her death sentence with remarkable composure, stating, "Somebody, after all, had to make a start." On February 22, 1943, she was guillotined alongside Hans and fellow member Christoph Probst. Sophie Scholl's resistance was not about physical confrontation, but about the power of ideas. Her brief life and tragic death transformed her into a martyr for freedom, inspiring post-war generations to value dissent and conscience over conformity. The White Rose's leaflets, rediscovered after the war, remain a poignant reminder of the moral clarity of youth in a time of darkness. Georg Elser, the lone carpenter. Who acted alone, Georg Elser, a working-class craftsman, stands apart as a solitary figure who nearly killed Hitler with a homemade bomb. Born in 1909 in rural Germany, Elser was a quiet, unassuming carpenter with leftist leanings, opposed to Nazism from its early days. Unlike the others, he lacked formal education, organizational support, or elite status, making his audacity all the more remarkable. Elser's plan crystallized in 1938, after witnessing Hitler's aggressive expansion and the suppression of freedoms. Convinced that eliminating the Führer was the only way to halt the regime, he meticulously prepared for over a year. He stole explosives from a quarry, crafted a time bomb, and targeted the Bürgerbräukeller in Munich, where Hitler annually spoke on. 5. Oskar Schindler. From opportunist to savior. Oskar Schindler's life is a tale of transformation, from a self-serving businessman to a savior of over 1,200 Jews. Born in 1908 in what is now the Czech Republic, Schindler was a charismatic entrepreneur who joined the Nazi Party for practical gain. After Germany invaded Poland in 1939, he took over a Krakow factory to produce enamelware for the war, hiring Jewish workers for their low cost under Nazi forced labor rules. His shift to protector began slowly. The 1943 liquidation of the Krakow ghetto horrified him, exposing the Nazis' brutality. Using his wealth and charm, he shielded his workers, deeming them essential to his factory. As the Holocaust worsened, he created his famous list, bribing officials to move his employees to a safer site in Brunlitz, far from death camps. He spent his fortune to ensure their survival until 1945. Flawed, a womanizer and drinker, initially driven by profit, Schindler's growth into a humanitarian challenged the Nazi regime from within. Post-war, he fled to Argentina penniless, later dying obscurely in Germany in 1974. Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List cemented his legacy. A flawed man who rose to moral greatness, showing redemption is possible even in the darkest times. If you enjoyed this story and want more incredible historical tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us bringing you more amazing content. Stay tuned for more.